sun is a dying ember, bleeding crimson across a horizon choked with volcanic ash and the heavy, humid breath of a prehistoric afternoon. Below this bruised sky, the silence of the late Jurassic is not a peace. It is a tension, a coiled spring waiting to snap. And then it happens. A sound like a falling mountain shatters the air, the guttural, chest-vibrating roar of a 10-ton Torvosaurus. He is a brute, a nightmare of muscle and serrated bone, his jaws wide enough to swallow a man whole if one were unfortunate enough to exist in this era. Opposite him stands an Allosaurus, leaner, faster, eyes burning with a cold, reptilian intelligence. There is no negotiation, there is no mercy. The Torvosaurus lunges, his massive weight causing the very earth to shudder. The Allosaurus pivots on a dime, his talons furrowing the mud as he narrowly avoids a bite that would have crushed his skull like an eggshell. This is the law of Titans. In this world, violence is the only currency that matters. It isn't cruelty, it is the fundamental engine of existence. To kill is to eat is to live. To live is to ensure that the spark of your lineage isn't snuffed out in the darkness of extinction. As these two predators collide in a spray of blood and primal fury, we are reminded of a singular, brutal truth. Survival in the Jurassic is not a moral choice, it is a mandatory command. To understand these titans, we must first understand the world that birthed them. Imagine an Earth that feels restless, almost alive with its own internal heat. The late Jurassic is a greenhouse world, a humid, unstable cauldron where the air is thick enough to taste. There are no flowers here, no grass underfoot. Instead, the landscape is a sea of towering gymnosperms, ancient conifers, and ferns that grow as large as trees. The oxygen-rich atmosphere fuels growth on a scale that defies modern imagination. But this beauty is a mask for a deeper instability. Beneath the lush green canopy, the Earth's crust is a jigsaw puzzle of tectonic plates grinding against one another. Plumes of volcanic smoke rise in the distance, a constant reminder that the ground beneath these giants is as fleeting as their lives. It is a world of extremes, where a week of torrential rain can turn a forest into a swamp, followed by a heat wave that bakes the mud into stone. In this environment, life doesn't just grow, it erupts. Every plant, every herbivore, and every predator is a participant in an arms race that has been running for millions of years. Beauty and danger are not opposites here, they are two sides of the same jagged coin. Rising above the ferns like living skyscrapers are the sauropods, Diplodocus and Brachiosaurus. These are the undisputed architects of the Jurassic ecosystem. A single herd of these long-necked giants can strip a forest bare in a matter of days, their massive footfalls creating craters that become seasonal ponds. They do not merely live in the environment, they shape it through sheer, unadulterated destruction. Yet there is a hidden design to their chaos. As they clear the dense brush, they create hunting corridors, open lanes where smaller, faster predators can maneuver. Their migration paths become the highways of the prehistoric world, followed by scavengers and hunters alike. The sauropods are giants, yes, but they are also unwitting servants to a larger ecological blueprint. Their waste fertilizes the soil for the next generation of plants, and their eventual deaths provide a mountain of carrion that can sustain entire ecosystems for months. Even the mightiest giant is but a gear in the relentless machinery of nature. Amidst this backdrop of giants, our focus narrows to a pair of Allosaurus we shall call Luma and Loki. They are the lions of their age, apex predators who have found something rare in this solitary world. A partnership. This isn't the romanticized love of fiction, but a bond forged in the fires of necessity and instinct. Luma is the strategist, her body scarred from a dozen near-fatal encounters. Loki is the enforcer, larger and more aggressive. Together, they guard a nesting site a meticulously engineered mound of earth and rotting vegetation designed to incubate their future. As they stand vigil, their golden eyes scanning the tree line, we see the emotional core of our story. In a world that offers no guarantees, the act of parenthood is the ultimate gamble. They aren't just protecting eggs, they are protecting the only bridge they have to a future they will never see. Their shared vigilance is a testament to the fact that even in a world governed by teeth and claws, the impulse to nurture is as ancient as the impulse to kill. Being an apex predator like Luma and Loki is a paradox. On the surface, they are the masters of all they survey. Nothing dares to challenge them openly, yet their very dominance tethers them to danger. To feed their massive bodies, they must live on the fringes of the great sauropod herds. It is a high-stakes game of proximity. The same animals that provide the meat they need to survive are capable of crushing them with a single, distracted step. There is no true safety for the powerful. Every hunt is a risk of a broken rib or a shattered jaw, injuries that are a slow death sentence in the wild. Constant tension defines their existence. They must be dominant to survive, but dominance brings with it the heavy burden of responsibility. They are the keepers of the balance, the culling force that keeps the herds healthy by removing the weak, yet they themselves are only one mistake away from becoming the very carrion they hunt. Control is an illusion. Luma and Loki have spent months defending their territory, warding off rival predators, and ensuring their eggs stay warm. But they cannot fight the Earth itself. Without warning, a low-frequency rumble begins, a sound felt in the marrow of the bones before it is heard by the ears. An earthquake, birthed from the tectonic shifting of the supercontinent, rips through the valley.
A massive stampede ensues. A chaotic rush for survival.
Reaction is instantaneous and catastrophic. A nearby herd of Camarasaurus, spooked by the heaving ground, breaks into a blind, panicked stampede. They are walls of meat and bone, thousands of tons of momentum that nothing can stop. Luma and Loki are forced to flee, watching helplessly as their nesting site, the culmination of months of sacrifice, is pulverized under the thundering feet of the giants. In minutes, the future they worked so hard to build is reduced to shattered shells and bloody dirt. The Earth is indifferent to their struggle. It does not hate them, it simply does not care. When the dust settles and the ground finally stills, the valley is a graveyard of broken trees and ruined dreams. Luma and Loki return to the site of their nest, their movements slow, almost hesitant. Amidst the carnage, a miracle, 2 eggs, shielded by a fallen log and a quirk of fate, remain intact. The loss of the others is absolute, a biological tragedy. In a human world, this might lead to despair, but in the Jurassic, instinct overrides grief. There is no time for mourning. The parents immediately shift back into survival mode. Their commitment to these remaining 2 lives is now total. With their future reduced to a razor-thin margin, Luma and Loki become more than just predators. They become guardians of the last embers of their lineage. There is no retreat, only the relentless, stubborn will to endure. As if the earthquake wasn't enough, the geological upheaval triggers a shift in the local climate. The rains, which usually turn the valley into a lush paradise, fail to arrive. The dying valley becomes a furnace. The rivers shrink to muddy trickles, and the once vibrant greenery turns to brittle, gray husks. Great herds, driven by the desperate need for water, begin to leave. For Luma and Loki, this creates a cruel dilemma. To stay with the eggs is to starve. To leave is to abandon their children to the scavengers that circle like vultures. They choose to stay. They grow thin, their ribs beginning to show beneath their leathery skin. They are trapped by their own devotion, sacrificing their own physical integrity to shield the 2 fragile shells from the blistering sun and the prowling eyes of smaller, hungrier raptors. Then in the darkest hour of the drought, a sound, a rhythmic tap, tap, tap from within the shells. Against all odds, the hatchlings emerge. They are tiny, wet, and incredibly vulnerable, looking more like scrawny birds than the terrifying titans they are destined to become. For Luma and Loki, the sight of these struggling infants reignites a sense of purpose. The exhaustion that weighed down their limbs is replaced by a surge of protective adrenaline. Hope has returned to the valley, but it is a fragile hope, immediately overshadowed by the reality of their surroundings. They have brought life into a world that currently has nothing to offer them. The hatchlings are hungry, the parents are starving, and the land is a barren wasteland. The real battle has only just begun. Desperation is a powerful motivator. Luma and Loki know they cannot stay in the parched valley any longer. They begin a slow, perilous trek toward the distant mountains where the clouds seem to gather. Along the way, their luck finally turns. The scent of decay hits them, iron-rich and heavy. They find the carcass of a subadult sauropod, likely a victim of the drought. But they are not the first to find it. A Ceratosaurus, recognizable by the prominent horn on its snout and its jagged, blade-like teeth, has already claimed the prize. Normally, Luma and Loki might avoid such a confrontation to save energy, but today, hunger has made them warriors. There is no alternative. To eat is to survive. To fail is to watch their hatchlings wither. Loki takes the lead. The battle is not a cinematic duel, but a fast, savage scramble for survival. The Ceratosaurus is tenacious, snapping its jaws and hissing, but Loki's desperation gives him a terrifying edge. He doesn't just want the meat, he needs it with a ferocity that defies self-preservation. Loki takes a deep gash to his shoulder, a costly price to pay, but he lands a decisive strike, his powerful neck muscles driving his teeth into the rival's flank. The Ceratosaurus, sensing that this is a fight to the death it cannot win, retreats into the shadows. Loki doesn't give chase. He has won the blood for calories trade. The family gorges themselves, the hatchlings tasting meat for the first time. This victory is the ultimate price of parenthood. Loki has traded his own blood to ensure his children have the energy to see another sunrise.
For the newborn hatchlings, the journey across the sand is a desperate struggle.
Time is the great
Guided by
healer.
Luma,
Eventually, the atmospheric pressure shifts and the skis finally break. The rains return, not as a drizzle, but as a cleansing flood. The valley transforms almost overnight, the scorched earth exploding into a vibrant, emerald carpet. Years pass in this restored Eden. The two hatchlings, whom we will call Vitus and Snow, grow with astonishing speed. They are no longer vulnerable infants. They are lethal subadults. Their bodies a perfect blend of Luma's tactical mind and Loki's raw power. Under the tutelage of their parents, they learn the art of the coordinated hunt. They become a killing unit, a family pack that dominates the valley. For a brief window of time, they are the most efficient force in their world. A testament to the power of unity in a landscape of isolation. But the Jurassic does not allow for permanent alliances. Biology has a clock, and for Vitus and Snow, that clock is ticking toward maturity. As their hormones shift, the very traits that made them a successful family, aggression, territoriality, and strength, begin to turn them against one another. The family dissolves without ceremony. There are no tearful goodbyes, only low growls and the avoidance of eye contact. Vitus is the first to leave, driven by a restless urge to find his own kingdom. Snow follows shortly after. It is the necessary fracture. Survival now requires dispersion. If they stay together, they will eventually compete for the same food and the same mates. To ensure the species continues, they must become rivals. The unit is broken so that the lineage may spread. Vitus travels far to the north, entering a territory held by an agging but formidable alpha male. This is the moment every male Allosaurus is born for, the challenge. Vitus does not win through brute strength alone. The old alpha is heavier and more experienced. Instead, Vitus uses stamina and strategy. He dances on the periphery, baiting the older dinosaur into wasting energy. He uses the lessons Luma taught him: wait for the opening, don't rush the kill. When the alpha finally tires, his breathing heavy and ragged, Vitus strikes with surgical precision. The victory marks a passing of the guard. Youth, paired with the intelligence passed down from his parents, has overthrown experience. Vitus is now a king in his own right. While Vitus fights for land, Snow fights for the future. Her challenge is subtler but no less vital. As a female in her prime, she is pursued by several suitors. She does not choose the largest or the loudest. Instead, she evaluates them with a cold, ruthless discernment. She watches how they hunt, how they navigate obstacles, and how they respond to her own displays of dominance. She rejects the weak and the reckless, knowing that her investment in her future eggs depends entirely on the genetic quality of her mate. Her selection process highlights the silent power of female choice in shaping the course of evolution. She isn't just picking a partner, she is picking the blueprint for the next generation of apex predators. The cycle restarts. Snow now tends her own nesting site, the familiar silhouette of an Allosaurus standing guard against the horizon. The threats remain the same: the earth will shake again, the droughts will return, and predators will always be lurking in the ferns. Yet the lineage persists. Luma and Loki are long gone. Their bodies return to the earth to feed the gymnosperms, but their legacy is alive in Snow's watchful eyes and Vitus's powerful stride. They are the torchbearers of an ancient flame, carried forward by nothing but instinct, resilience, and an unwavering refusal to be erased from history. As we look back across the vast gulf of 150 million years, we must reframe our understanding of these creatures. They were not the mindless monsters of cinema. They were survivors. They were parents who sacrificed their own health for their young. They were partners who stood together against a collapsing world. They were architects of an ecosystem that eventually paved the way for our own. The Jurassic is buried under miles of rock and time, but its legacy endures. It is etched into the DNA of the birds that sing in your backyard and the deep, lizard-brain instincts that tell us to protect our own at all costs. The story of Luma, Loki, Vitus, and Snow is our story, too, a story of struggle, adaptation, and the incredible, stubborn persistence of life. The story of the Allosaurus teaches us a profound lesson. Resilience is not the absence of disaster, but the persistence through it. Luma and Loki lost almost everything: their home, their offspring, and their safety. Yet they didn't stop. They adapted to the drought, they fought for every calorie, and they focused on what remained rather than what was lost. Have you ever faced a moment where everything seemed to crumble, only to find a small spark of hope to carry you forward? How did you find the strength to endure? Share your stories of resilience in the comments below. If you found this journey through the Jurassic inspiring, please hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and join our community of explorers. Together, we'll continue to uncover the incredible stories written in the bone and blood of our planet's history. See you in the next one.